Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hang in there, that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Hello, Smylie.
Hola, senor.
How we doing?
What's good?
What is good? Well, I now have a chipping and putting green in my backyard.
Okay.
That's very good. What's not good is that I'm living in a snow globe of pollen, and I feel like my head's going to explode, and I'm expecting that to continue in about a week when we make our way down to Augusta, Georgia. So that's what's going on with me. You are freshly returned from Houston, Texas, and as we trickle in here, oh, look at this. We got the Masters coffee mug.
Yeah, Fran's already given me a couple things on a list of the merch store, because I asked her, I was like, Fran, do you actually really want me to go into the merch store this year? And not a whole lot of words were said after that. It was just don't ask stupid questions, you know?
It's one of those things where you know me, I'm a merch addict. I have a problem.
You do have a problem. And you lean into the gnome thing, which I don't get.
Well, because the gnome is almost how I justified myself going back every year to the merch thing. Because, why would I need another hat or shirt or polo, whatever? But the gnome is you got to get the freshly released gnome for that year. So it's a little bit of justification. And also now, once you have kids, they're basically just mannequins that you get to dress up. And so, we're in a arms race against our fellow parents as to who has the coolest looking polos. And so that's kind of where I'm at with Walker and Kate. We got to get them absolutely geared up.
Yeah, I got Anna Carter's outfit for this year's Masters because it's a year away outfit. Which what thing have you ever bought yourself that's a year away from wearing?
That's a great question, and I can't answer it because I don't think I've ever done it. So
I would be telling everybody for a full year about my outfit.
Yes. That is it's unique to children, I think, at this point, especially because you can go to that merch stand at Augusta National sometimes, and a lot of stuff's picked over, and then you start doing the mental math of what can I just get so I can bring home anything for the kids, and maybe Walker will fit in this when he's 7. I know he's 1 right now, but it can hang in that closet for a good 6 years, and then it's going to be time to launch that thing. So Min-Woo Lee, the chef, first PGA Tour win of his career, and you called it. You were on Min-Woo Lee to start the week. Would you care to take a nice lengthy victory lap now for the one and dones? You've gotten the ship right back on track. And also, would you like to give me credit for, because many people are talking about you getting the pick right, but what happened this week that was different from every other week? I
gave
out some recipes.
Gave recipes, and I almost left the chat.
So that might have had something to do with it. That might have had something to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I might retire from one and done if we have to hear another recipe.
I might do that on purpose so I don't have to give any more one and done picks.
Well, I think you just need to lean in and I think you just need to get back to work, knowing that it can be done. It's like the lid is off the hole now. We need to really lean in, put the work in.
I think that's
see
fair.
the big board.
I was kind of searching for a while, and I was listening to a lot of outside noise and chatter. I was letting too much of that seep into my brain. Look, I love some of the guests on our show, but they steered me very incorrectly this last week. I'm done listening to other people. I might even remove the data from my model. I might just go straight gut for the rest of the season.
Well, what you don't have to look for in the comments, because Sam Craig is on to somebody who I'm actually very interested in taking at the Valero. I was walking around in Houston. I'm thinking it's almost Sam Ryder season. It is almost Sam Ryder season. You know, he's only a feast and famine type of player, but he's made 9 cuts to start the year. And you have to love that because he's got the offense to go out and contend. Watch out for Sam Ryder this week.
Shout out Stetson University. Also, we have a great point from someone else in the comments here. Coding Oak. Bryson uses torpedo irons. Mm-hmm. So, the torpedo advent across many, many sports. Let's get it back on track here. Minwoo Lee. Where do you want to begin? Because this was not only was this Minwoo's first win, one that you correctly predicted, but there was a little bit of a soap opera happening here on Sunday in Houston.
Let's talk win. Let's talk win.
Okay, let's start there. You take it away.
So this golf course, last year, there's really no trouble off of the tee. As if you watch this golf tournament, you could probably tell. These players, they stand up on the tee box and they have to really think about, how do I not swing 110% at every single drive? Because that's how much room is on every single hole. But last year, there wasn't any rain. It played pretty firm. The greens were firm. But this year, we had rain pretty much starting on Monday throughout the entire week. It kind of chilled out maybe on Saturday and Sunday, but still it never really got really sunny, dry, and windy. So the golf course from a green standpoint never really or firmed up. So for Minwoo, what advantages did he have? Carry distance was a huge stat this week, but what Minwoo really I thought was phenomenal with was the putter. That was really a statistic that you look back at the last 4 or 5 winners. We ran a graphic at the beginning of our show on Sunday and just talked about how important it was for winners and what key statistic, and it was putting, which you wouldn't really think about on a golf course like this, where it's just like long, a ton of, I would say, just kind of undulations around the greens, but that's a statistic that's very important. So Minwoo obviously putted well, but what impressed me the most, I would probably say, was his control with his irons. I think you go and look at all the highlights. Yes, you would see the 194 ball speed, but how often he hit really, really controlled iron shots. And in the past, I think Minwoo's, struggled a little bit with hitting kind of a 7-iron like an 8-iron. I think constantly he was a guy that would, not hit that 3/4 shot, not have that control at times. And this week it kind of forced you to, because the greens were really soft and players were really struggling with controlling their spin because they're ripping the balls back. So back pins, they're having to take more club. So I honestly think these greens forced him a little bit into having a little bit more control. So, I was really excited to see Minwoo get his first win. I think we talked about it all last year, how we wanted to see him in signature events. We know he's got the talent, waiting for him to break through. We've seen him do it on the DP World Tour, but I was really excited to see Minwoo get the job done in a really exciting tournament that he kind of made it exciting for us.
Yeah, it kind of to your point on the conditions too. Last year's winning score, Steven Yeager, 12 under, would have gotten him a share for a tie of 11th. This year. So just, illustrating the difference in conditions. And, you've said it a lot on this show, when it's soft out there and guys can just go straight at pins. And obviously that was actually another question I had for you about course conditions, is this municipal course being in the middle of the city of Houston. what are the wind conditions like out there? Do you get much of it, or is that kind of knocked down because you're inside the confines of the city?
Oh, no. You can get as much wind as you could anywhere. It's it blew yesterday. It was a 2-club wind in the afternoon. Thursday was at times a 2-club wind. It was cold, rainy on Thursday. It was really gross. In fact, Friday the weather really got good. It was supposed to be kind of a crummy day in which they didn't play much golf. The rain delay was short. When the players came back out, guys were ripping the golf course up. And Saturday they ripped it up too. And then Sunday it was kind of came back down to earth.
Well, some people ripped it up. We had 3-course record 62 this week. How about that?
I know. It was totally gettable, but still, you got to hit the shots. You got to hold the putts. And Min was able to do it. Scottie was able to do it. Gary Woodland was able to do it.
Yeah.
So a really fun finish. I think this golf course, it's more fun when it's firm, but I thought, I really have taken a liking to this place.
Before we get to what was a bit of a soap opera in that final group, we were kind of prepping for this show, and just talking about Minwoo now at Augusta National. And so I just love to kind of dig deep into how he profiles as a player and why you might like him at the 2025 Masters. Because we know his superpower is, of course, this incredible easy speed he has off the tee, high 180s, sometimes low 190s ball speed. And the putting is, as we saw this week, a plus skill, right?
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid.
They won the game, and a lot of people, I think, are, prematurely writing them off. Like, I heard a lot of people say they're not even making the playoffs this year.
What I give them credit for right now, Scott, I'm not going to pencil them to win the division yet. Let's see how they do. What I give the Red Sox credit for, and this sounds like silly, I give them credit for actually trying this year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
How does what he showed you this week carry into Augusta National here in 2 weeks?
Well, he's really, really good around the greens, like super creative, which you have to have some of that to be good at Augusta. He's got great touch when he's on the greens. Good
Dr.
putter.
Chipinski, forgot to mention.
He has length. There's plenty of things that he has that could definitely make him a player that could contend at Augusta. I think what he's continuing to get better at, and I think you got to give maybe his caddy, Bo Martin, who's caddy for Shane Lowry, a little bit of credit here, is that I think for a long time with Minwoo, the talent was there, but maybe the decision making wasn't consistent through 72 holes. I think he's getting better, but it's not all the way there. Sometimes I think he kind of runs and guns a little bit too much, where Augusta, you really need to be at one shot at a time and have strategy on your brain when you hit every single shot. So for men, I think it's just showing up with a good, solid game plan of knowing where to miss it, because Augusta National, that's really what it's all about, of where to avoid to not make double bogeys. And I think he could be a player that could contend. I probably didn't feel that way quite as much heading into the week. Does a win change that? I think what I saw was a little bit more of control in his game throughout the week. I know the golf course was easy, and it's probably perfect golf course for men, but he's got a lot of tools in the chest, and Augusta requires you to have a lot.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm looking forward to seeing him there. That was one of my favorite guys. I watched him play Augusta National last year alongside Joaquin Niemann. It was just fun to kind of watch those guys work their way around the property. So I might earmark that. Pick one of those days to follow him around again this year. So tell me, you know, the Alejandro Tosti, which, by the way, this guy, I can't make up my mind on this guy, because you heard all the stories. Just for a little bit of background, Alejandro Tosti earned promotion, I guess, 2 years ago now off the Korn Ferry Tour. He was one of the best players on the tour that year, but also got suspended near the end of the year. There were all sorts of reports about, conflict with volunteers and other players, and this guy runs hot. That was the perspective I took into him with his first year on the PGA Tour. Then, Smylie, we discussed on this show, and you talked about, hey, this guy, I actually really enjoy talking to him. He's kind of got this lovable side. He really has a passion for the game. And you're kind of trying to understand the duality of Alejandro Tosti. Like, is this just a Grayson Allen playing golf type situation where he cares so much that he does things out of emotion that sometimes don't reflect well on him? And I've grown to appreciate, especially as many of our villains on the PGA Tour have departed for LIV, I've grown to appreciate characters like Alejandro Tosti for injecting some entertainment value into these tournaments. And so we heard a little bit on the broadcast of he took a long time to get a ruling early in the round, might have been sort of disrespectful to Ryan Fox in that process. Then as Min Woo was trying to get his own ruling later in the round, Alejandro was complaining to a rules official, and then subsequently might have been trying to slow play Min Woo Lee, at least according to Bones. So can you just having been there, I know you're with Scotty's group, but can you just explain what happened in your perspective on this whole situation?
Well, I think what you need to also include is at the Houston Open last year, him and Tony Finau, there were some issues between them two when it came to, I want to say it was Tony's like ball mark on the green or something like that. Something like,
yes, very
not an issue for many other players. But I tell you, it was, when he got in the final group, we're thinking, are we going to get the same toaster strudel we got last year? And it started on the first dang hole, man, where Bones noticed something of, Tosti hits it way left on his second shot, takes a drop, allegedly takes a while on the whole drop stuff. And so Ryan Fox said, like, do you want me to go? And I guess Tosti kind of made him upset that he asked him that. And so I think initially he was probably upset about the shot. Now Brain got switched on of okay, villain Tosti mode just got activated on the first hole. So we got the brain turned on here on this, which, listen, I've talked to Tosti off of the golf course, and really nice guy, but I think he also has got a villain mode at him on the golf course. And if you want to try to say that he doesn't, I think, like you said, getting suspended on the Korn Ferry Tour, these things, there's a history here, and I don't want to ever paint a picture of a player that doesn't have problems and we say that he does. Well, there's been enough instances that we could say that Tosti is a bit of a problem. So as we kind of go on, I think the 8th hole is where it all starts. So Min hits a huge drive to the right. Lucky that this thing doesn't go in our TV compound and go out of bounds. And I tend to agree with Tosti in the fact that it took him entirely too long to make a decision. Yes, were they waiting on the tee box for 5 minutes for a ruling, maybe even close to 10 minutes for Trey Molnax up to the green? Yes, these are true things. This is what happens in threesomes, right? I've told you this, that you can have players play slow and hide because it's just hurry up and wait. 13th hole, they had to wait once they eventually got caught up. But, you know, when you're trying to win for the first time and you're playing at threesomes and you know you're probably going to wait, and this is like the moment of the match, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't hate it. I don't mind that it took him an extra minute to make a decision. I thought it was too long. Like, if you're going to just say, hey, did he take too long? Yes, he took entirely too long to make a decision. And even after they did make a decision to take an unplayable, it took way too long after that to figure out what club to hit. So there was a lot of things going on there that I felt like definitely held up play if you were a playing competitor, which I would have been annoyed with. But hey, he's leading the golf tournament. I guess, you know, they were waiting on that hole. Not a ton of issues there, but I don't like deliberately holding up play for walking. That seems like it was a little bit too much on my front, because I don't remember there being bathrooms at the 12th hole. There could have been. Maybe him and his caddy went to the bathroom. I don't remember there being a bathroom at 12, so I think that could have been a bit there.
Yeah, this just feels like it was a perfect storm in many ways, right? Where, to your point, I think the threesomes thing, you can both say Minwoo took far too long to make a decision, you know, both on the initial unplayable and subsequently club decision. But to your point on the threesomes, like, this is just, I think this is more of a system problem, a sort of structure problem, than it is a Minwoo Lee being a slow player problem, because he hasn't had that problem, you know, on tour and really any other event that we've seen.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You know, he's 7 shots off the lead too when he's doing this.
Yes, and
that's where it gets really annoying for me, because that's now you're really impeding somebody's rhythm and a chance to win. And that's the annoying part. If it's match play, Charlie, I get it. Whatever. Like, be an idiot and do whatever you want. I don't like that whole idea. If that was intentional, I don't know.
I think that's, well, you know, if it's match play, or even if he's right there alongside Minwoo Lee in a stroke play, like if he was a shot off the lead or 2 shots off the lead, and he's saying, okay, you're going to slow me down. I still don't like it, but I'd understand it more there than a guy who is playing bad golf and seemingly sort of, you know, pouting, and also is susceptible to emotions and anger, as we've seen in numerous, you know, junctures throughout his career, and sort of takes it out in an unproductive way. But hey, Nothing if not entertaining. This guy is don't make the strudel angry. He will not like the strudel when he's angry. So that was highly.
But just another like slow play moment for men happened on the 18th hole, and that decision on 18 on what club to hit took entirely too long. I mean, that had to be from because they were the last guy to hit, right?
Yeah,
and they were still just walking off the yardage. Now, there could have been other things going on as far as clearing out the crowd that I was trying to kind of figure out what was happening. But even then, it just seemed like, all right, we walk off the yardage after the two guys hit, and then we go walk out of the tunnel of all the people to then now go check the wind. It just seemed like the process took a very, very long time. Yes, he had to make a par to win the golf tournament. Yes, it was so important that he got his first win. But at the same time, if
I might just go armchair psychologist here for a second, where I could be entirely off, but this is my just assessment of who Minwoo Lee seems to be as a human being, is that we know that there are categories of types of competitors, right? Like there's like the guy who is borderline sociopath, Kobe Bryant, like I'll do anything to win. Minwoo Lee seems more like a relatable human being than on the sociopath end of the spectrum, right? We see this in the way he interacts with fans on social media. It's why we love him so much, all the way down to the bit on the last hole where he's aim pointing from a few inches out. Like he's there about to win his first golf tournament.
That was great.
I say all that to say, I think that we've seen him in some high pressure, high leverage situations where the moment kind of gets to him. We saw it a couple years ago in that final group with Scottie Scheffler where he falls off the pace early and loses the golf tournament. We even saw it on Saturday at the Players this year where he has a chance and then, tough conditions and he kind of falls away from the golf tournament because he's trying to do something he's never done before, win an event on the PGA Tour. A lot of pressure comes with that. And depending on your wiring, he is immensely physically gifted and has all these tools, but there's that last step of, do I have the mental resolve to play through all, the number one player in the world chasing me down, Alejandro Tosti playing mind games with me, and win this golf tournament. So was he too slow? Totally agreed, but I also get that until you get over that hump for the first time, if you're taking a little extra time to make sure you just make a par on the 18th hole to win by a shot, I kind of get that.
Yes and no. I think that when you get down the stretch, you should always keep your routine pretty similar. I don't think taking an extra 3-4 minutes to hit a golf shot is necessary, especially for maybe the players that he's playing with. Remember, you got to respect the guys you're playing with who also have jobs on the line they're playing for. Just kind of turned into the men's show there at 18, especially you had Fox and Tosi hitting really good shots there, and they just sat there in the fairway for 4 minutes waiting for Min to hit a shot. And Min's not a slow player. And let's go back to the Players' Championship when he was in the final group with Akshay Bhatia. And our group, Rory's group, the second to last group, was on the 6th hole. And after Min and Akshay finally got their ruling figured out at the 5th hole when they both hit it left off the tee, where they end up driving it or having to go walk around and go hit their their third shots after dropping on the range. They had gotten 2 holes behind, and then by 9th fairway, they were caught up. So just the fact that they were able to get caught up clearly shows that men can play really fast. But I think it also, you throw in this, it's like, okay, Min's been in a lot of final pairings. He's been in the moment and in the situation of have a chance to win big golf tournaments on the weekend. So if his whole takeaways from these times that he's been in contention has been the game has moved by too quickly, and I want to make sure in the moments where I feel like I'm spinning that it's talked through to where I know exactly what I want to do, and that's a really good mental tactic too. A lot of sports psychologists recommend that when things get going quick, talk it out, be able to verbalize what you're thinking because your mind wants you to go quicker. So I get it from a mental standpoint if that maybe was the strategy, but still there's been some instances where men's group has gotten 2 holes behind a couple times this year, and that's just on the front 9.
on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's move now to Scottie Scheffler, who has now lost back-to-back Houston Opens by a whopping total of 2 shots combined over the 2 years. Came up short last year against Steven Yeager, and then this year at Minwoo Lee. But before we get to the golf, Smylie, very, very important update. I'm told of reports that you notified Scottie Scheffler of some big Southwest bag changes that I think we're all quite upset about. I personally, this is heartbreaking. Would you care to fill us in on the situation here?
Well, if you've kept up with Southwest Airlines, you would know that the bags don't fly free anymore.
What are we doing?
Yeah. So I'm walking with Scottie down the fairway at 14 yesterday, and we're just chit-chatting. And I was asking Teddy if he was driving home. He was like, yep, 3.5 hours. I was like, Scottie, you driving home? And he was like, it's 3.5 hours for me. I am not driving. And I was like, that's a good call. I mean, especially with all the nonstop flights from Houston to Dallas, Southwest, that's a bang for your buck type of thing. And he obviously laughed, knowing I was being sarcastic. And I was like, Scottie, you got to be careful, man. Those bags don't fly free anymore. All of Bennett's stuff that he's got, and all the stuff that Mayor packs, buddy, that's hitting your credit card. He's like, good to know. Thank you.
That's a true shame for the Scheffler family. I'm sure they were frequented Southwest, quite often. So
dude, his humor is so sarcasm, bit type of humor, like office humor. That is his, like, he thinks that stuff is hysterical. But yeah.
It's I mean, we don't need to delve too far into it, but I will say just that we just keep scratching airlines off the list. I flatly refuse to fly American Airlines anymore. My 2 go-tos had become Delta and Southwest, and now Southwest, they removed the one thing that made them Southwest. What are we doing here? Anyway. Yeah. Scottie Scheffler. So you want to kind of just take us through we are now?
I never really felt like he was in the golf tournament yesterday until all of a sudden he was on 16 when he kind of let everybody back into the tournament after he hit the water ball at 16 off the tee. But, he played good. No doubt about it. He played really well, but Min was just so far up. It just didn't ever feel like it was going to be that close. And so Teddy, I asked him, I was like, hey, do you want to know what's going on? He was like, yes. I was like, Min hitting the water on 16. This is walking to 17. And so he knew what the situation was. And Scottie is not a person that wants to know the situation. I guess Teddy would tell him if he needed to know. But, you know, I thought 17, leaving that putt short after watching Svensson right before him, leave it short, and he knew it was a slow putt. It wasn't an easy putt to make, but I was hoping to give it a better chance there. And then 18, that was an interesting one. He had 190 yards, and the wind was definitely tough to kind of figure out if it was helping or hurting off the right. And he typically is so good at just hitting these like 3/4 hold shots with irons. And so I was surprised to see the 7-iron, and for it to come up that far short was a little bit of surprise. So very rarely do you see them get it that far off, like that wrong, like him and Ted. But they definitely got that shot wrong at 18 because I don't think he hit it that bad. But overall impressions for Scottie for the week: putted well. I thought his ball striking, you know, really kind of, especially his driving, looked good when I watched him on the weekend. The iron game was okay at times, good at times. But if you wanted to see Scottie get into contention, you wanted to see him kind of round into form a little bit, this was a good week. If you're a Scottie Scheffler fan looking for him to win 3 out of 4 coming up here at the Masters.
Am I insanely out of line to just observe what we've seen this year and also say, look, he was coming back from a hand injury, there was some rust he's trying to knock off, and just wonder if things like 18, I'll say it this way, we've seen more shots like that on 18 that are puzzling given what we know about Scottie Scheffler this season we have maybe the past 2 seasons, where, to your point, he's so good at hitting it 20 feet away on the correct side of the hole every time he needs to. And in the past, it's been whether or not he can make a putt, you know, for birdie and work as, you know, put some pressure.
He hit the shot last year, right? He had like 182 and hit it to 5 feet and then missed the putt.
So is there anything heading into the Masters, maybe cause for concern is not the right word, but just kind of a mental note of his iron game is still one of the best on tour, but not up to usual Scottie standards relative to what we've seen in past years?
I think getting him, you know, this form with him to firmer greens. I think this week, a lot of the shots that didn't end up close, I think he was struggling with the softness of the greens at times this week, especially with wedges. I think not knowing exactly what that first bounce was going to be like really kind of was messing with him at times. And then you throw in the Tom Doak greens that have a lot of humps and bumps around them, and it can really play tricks on your mind as far as some wedge shots on exactly where to land it to get it close. So at times where I felt like he was going to really hit one close, I think he played a little conservative and kind of befuddled a lot of times looking down at the ground like, what the heck happened here? Get him to a place that he's familiar, where he knows what that first bounce is going to be like. And I think you'll see Scottie really start to round into form. I love where Scottie's at heading into the week. The putter looks really, really good. And especially as these greens quicken up, I think his stroke with the saw is going to be really nice on fast greens.
And then the other guy who sits atop that odds board as we head over, you know, we obviously have the Valero Texas Open this week, but yeah, Rory made some adjustments to his driver settings. Obviously, that's been a recurring topic with him of, you know, switching back into an older model of the driver the year before that he was using, he was more comfortable with, and now making some loft settings. And then where are we on Rory's right elbow? Is he hurt or is he injured? Do you see this?
No.
Oh. It's not breaking news. Breaking news to you. Yeah, he said there's something kind of bothering him in his right elbow a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, maybe needs to get some treatment on this the next couple of weeks. Ooh. Nothing terrible, obviously, you know, but just something he was dealing with throughout the week. So, I bet
it's just like some tendonitis would be my guess. Been there, done that. Mine was my left elbow, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, if anybody's ever had golfers or tennis elbow, you go and hit the shoulders. They go and just make you hammer the shoulders out, and I'm sure it'll get some PT as far as just some soft tissue work on just the area around the elbow. It should clean up at least in a week or so. But if he's got work he needs to get done, which I think with Rory, you have to like the form he's in. He probably doesn't feel like he has to go bang balls next week to get into form. But I want to just kind of look briefly at his stats this week just to see what we. not surprising to see like the driving stats are good on that golf course where you can just absolutely hammer it. But a lot of good stuff. I mean, across the board, it looks, pretty solid when it just all the strokes gain data looks really good.
Do you think the loft adjustment is something he's doing preemptively to see if that's the way he wants it to be set up at Augusta National, or was that just in response to where he was in the tournament?
Man, that's a good question. I anytime a player takes it down in loft, that doesn't scream more fairways to me. Because for the most part, that'll knock spin down, and if anything, it'll make you want to hit up more on the golf ball to keep the ball in the air more. So maybe he was spinning it too much and the ball was going too high, but very rarely do you see that being an issue with Roars. So I don't know. I know he needs to drive it better to win the Masters. You can't hit it like he did at times at the Players and win that golf tournament in Augusta. So he's going to have to be a little bit better off the tee. So definitely something that I'm sure he's going to be working on, just dialing in, a couple different shots. He's got the shot that nobody ever talks about that he hits this like tee down bullet, and it's not a bullet fade. It's just this screaming bullet. It's my favorite shot that anybody has in the game right now is this medium bullet that he can hit. And I wanted to see him hit it more at Augusta because I think that shot plays so well and he hits it so dang straight when he does it.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
If you look at how the men and women did it, the men, the portal opened up the day after the round of 32. Same thing with the women. Men on Monday, women on Tuesday. Why can't they just do the day after the national championship game when the season ends, next season begins, then you open up the portal. All teams have completed play. All bets are off.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
What are your thoughts on this whole like LIV Duels thing?
I mean,
it's on Grant's channel too, which is just crazy to me.
So, and there is now, I can't believe I'm saying this. There's now breaking news that happened just moments before we went live on this channel. And this is, again, take this for what it's worth. Flushing at Golf, we've talked about in the past, has been plugged in a lot of things, but you just never know who the sources are. But so we just to kind of trace it back for those who are not, aware of how this all works. There are, of course, all these creators who, some of whom are on this creator council as devised by the PGA Tour, many of whom played in this,
Who have said the creator council, like even these guys they don't even know what it is.
So, but whatever it is, it's affiliation with the tour and this thing that also, they played in now 2 Creator Classics. There's one, of course, last year at East Lake, and then most recently at TPC Sawgrass. And now that same set of guys, including the guy who just won the event at Sawgrass, is going to go play, I guess this week in this LIV Duels thing in Miami. And so the PGA Tour, I can't believe this is a piece of news I'm reading. This is via Flushing at Golf. The PGA Tour reached out to creators involved with LIV Golf's The Duels and threatened them with potential future suspensions if they participated in the unsanctioned event in line with the rules for non-members who play full LIV Golf League tournaments. The creators pushed back, however, and now the threats of sanctions have been dropped. I cannot believe in the year of our Lord 2025 that that YouTube golf creators somehow have more leverage than PGA Tour pros. But here we are. I just, I think it's like, look, anything good that you create that people have interest in is going to get copycatted. And so, I think that LIV doing this, like, it obviously makes sense, especially because there are existing relationships. Like, it's not like this is the first time Grant Horvat's going to play on camera with Phil Mickelson. In fact, he's done it a number of times before. So the PGA Tour knew that when they issued him an invitation to, the Sawgrass event, the Sawgrass Creator Classic. And so it's not like they don't know there's going to be some sort of commingling. But, it's funny that we've arrived here and LIV's doing this thing, and you have all these people that are on your creator council that are going over and helping LIV launch their own competitor product. So...
yeah, you could see why the tour would be upset by it, because they let these guys come play the Sawgrass thing, but also they're not under contract for the PGA Tour as members. The only person that I think this should affect should be Wesley, and I know Wesley will probably disagree on this, but he is a PGA Tour member supporting a tour that the PGA Tour currently is not in business with until they are. I think most PGA Tour members would agree that Wesley probably is going to get suspended. I'd be shocked if he didn't. But everybody else, they can do whatever the heck they want. It doesn't bother me at all. The fact that it's going to be on Grant's channel, good for him. Am I going to watch? No, but I'm sure there will be people that watch, and if they're into that, great. But I guess the only other thing that maybe the tour feels like they've maybe have given guys or like really pushed for when, let's say, just exemptions, like they've put together, for these guys an exemption to get into, let's say, Myrtle Beach. So like those things might be disappearing a little bit. Personally, I think if you're supporting another tour and like a Myrtle Beach Classic is doing all these qualifiers for the creators for a spot, I'd rather go to a player that maybe isn't a creator, that is a guy who's trying to get their way onto the PGA Tour. If it was me, that's what I would support anyways. So if you're going to double dip on both, you can't have everything now at this point. Now I know it does create buzz and interest for an event like Myrtle Beach, which doesn't have a ton, but that's the side of the coin I look at too, which is, listen, like for instance, George has gotten a spot into like Bermuda. So like they've gotten exemptions and spots, and yes, maybe the tournament directors from these places can give them spots, but also I think the tours help push these tournaments to help give some spots to, like Grant hasn't played an event, but who's to say he won't? So I think that's the potential line you might cross with the tour is, okay, if you're supporting to LIV on this, we may not lean quite as heavily into giving you guys spots in the tournaments, which in the first place, do they really need? I don't know. Personally, I'd rather them go to players that are trying to play golf for a living.
It's such an interesting time we live in. And this is, I was just kind of scrolling social media yesterday and I saw that for a UFL game where there's I guess a popular YouTube creator destroying who's kicking for one of the teams. And it's obviously, it makes sense for the UFL to, now I'm sure he's a great kicker. I'm sure there's some merits that he has where he earned his way into this league, but also if he's going to do on all of his socials with, however many, thousands or maybe millions of followers he has, if he's going to discuss the league and get eyeballs over to watching it, it's a play that makes sense for them. And I think about that in the context of what you're saying with the Myrtle Beach qualifier and just really any of this stuff where are these creators the most deserving players for these spots? Probably not. But if the knock-on
buzz, yeah.
If the knock-on effect is that you get more people watching the tournament and you can sell against that and get money in people's pockets where you're trying to keep this thing afloat in a time where it's sort of a precarious market, I completely understand the play and I'm totally fine with it. And I think that's what a lot of people and fans want to see. Now, the interesting, unique wrinkle we have here with the PGA Tour and LIV is that there are these competing leagues, and in other instances you don't have that as much. Whereas this is like, okay, the PGA Tour spent all this time trying to kind of lean on this younger, more modern audience and stand up this concept of the Creator Classic and the Creator Council, where they were going to do this thing that helped bring in these younger audiences. And LIV said, okay, cool, yeah, we'll do that too. And I'm sure we'll pay all these same creators you guys are using more money than you're going to pay them if they're even making anything. And they're going to be thrilled to do it because they get to come to Miami and hang out with all these guys who have won majors, Phil Mickelson, and it's going to be great for their channel. And so, how do you guard against that if you're the PGA Tour? Like, I don't know that you really can, but I also know that, like, I on the back end of this, it's going to look really tough for the PGA Tour if they decide to not have these guys participate in future Creator Classics, because that's the whole reason why I think people are watching. Like, if they got really punitive with future invites, who are they going to invite? I don't know. I don't know.
The success of the PGA Tour is not going to be defined on whether the Creator Classic is successful or not.
Sure.
And this is all just a way in which they're trying to grow the game and grow their audience.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. You studied the stats. You had the perfect bracket until your upsets turned into regrets. SportsGrid rides the highs and lows of every buzzer beater, bracket buster, and Cinderella story.
The Big Ten Freshman of the Year!
Our team brings you sharp insights, real-time reactions, and all the madness. Only on SportsGrid.
They won the game, and a lot of people, I think, are, prematurely writing them off. Like, I heard a lot of people say they're not even making the playoffs this year.
What I give them credit for right now, Scott, I'm not going to pencil them to win the division yet. Let's see how they do. What I give the Red Sox credit for, and this sounds like silly, I give them credit for actually trying this year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid.
The Creator Classics. We'll get a caddy bib for you. Get you a nice Augusta National, the full length white one with at the Smylie show on the back, and I'm happy to tee it up. I'm probably playing as bad as Trent Ryan right now. We were at all time.
We don't Trent shame here.
No, we don't. We're not Trent shaming. We love Trent Ryan. I'm just saying that's
we can talk crap about Riggs' game though.
That's probably the product I'll be giving you right now. I got to figure it out. I'm hoping this additional short game practice is gonna make it improve, but we got to figure out. Got to figure it out at the tee. But hey, listen, if you want to watch someone shoot $1 million in a Creator Classic event, and we can just banter. We're here, PGA Tour, and we're not going to go play in duels. That's for dang sure. We got Kyle Carpenter's bingo card coming into question here. I personally cannot shank shame on this show, given my ongoing battles with the wedge. Although I haven't had one in a long while, so I'm not jinxing myself.
Old Riggsy, man, he's
Astros game. So caught a little ball game.
Yeah, caught a little ball game. Thanks to my man Yanni, got me an amazing seat. I feel like I was in like on home plate. It was incredible watching and thinking about the question of, if I played 162 games, could I get a hit?
What do you think? Could you?
My thought was,
wait, actually, I'm sorry. Can I stop you right there? Because I want to reframe this question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I don't know if you've been following this big controversy. I want you to give me two answers here. Could you get a hit with a regular bat? Could you get a hit with a torpedo bat?
Is that the Yankees bat?
That's the Yankees bat. A lot of people talk about these torpedo bats, Smylie. It's a topic du jour these days.
I think I could get a hit, but this is 162 games. We're talking a lot of games. That's 4 at-bats a game. That is, I mean, the coach has got to really lean into this for me, you know? But the hypothetical is, on the PGA Tour, how often do guys play terrible and just don't have their stuff?
It happens.
It happens. I need to see that player on the mound on just that day and that pitch where they just don't have it.
Yeah, I guess the equivalent, if you were, I mean, it's mathematically, I don't know if this connects, but it's less of like, could I shoot a better score than a PGA Tour pro over the course of one round, and more of, could I make a better score than a PGA Tour pro on one hole? Like, if you let me play every tournament, could I beat one of the pros on one hole? I think the answer to that is yes, because, you know, you bring penalty strokes into play, like you could just kind of bunt it down the fairway. Getting a hit over the course of a MLB, like if you're getting like 500 at bats, I don't know, man. I don't know. We have our boy Jackson in the comments. 500 at bats, close your eyes and swing. You're bound to get a dribbler. I would say, you know, I would have said no.
I don't think I'm outrunning anything.
I don't think you are.
That's the thing. I'm not outrunning anything in the infield. So that's the big issue. Is can you somehow? I mean, there's not going to be any shift on, right? So there's no open side of the field where you just happen to get one off the end of the bat. It's definitely a conversation that I think everybody's had. I mean, we also talked about is how many yards could you get as a running back just starting, you know, like you get the same amount of carries as Derrick Henry. And not that I want this. I don't want.
This is a really good one. So you're saying you get 20 carries a game for 17 games now.
How many yards? How
many yards do you think you get for the season?
I'm bouncing everything outside. Big hole open in the middle. I'm bouncing outside.
And then getting absolutely lit up by a strong safety.
No.
Flying down a 4-3 from the box.
And that's when I bounce it back inside. And that's when the D-tackle, that's when the old sandwich happens where it's just boosh.
People talk a lot about bouncing it outside. They don't talk about bouncing it outside, then bouncing it back inside. I think that's a little strategy piece we should be passing on to NFL teams, running backs at large. Yeah, you know what? I think that I would have said no to a hit.
Doing zigzags.
I would have said no to a base hit prior to the advent of torpedo bats, but I'm watching these guys just rake with these torpedo bats on highlights on social media, and I'm reliving my high school glory days, which they weren't very. There wasn't a lot of glory there, but I'm saying, you know what? If I'd played in the torpedo bat era, I might have had a shot. I could have been somebody. Smylie, that's what I got for you. You're headed off to the beautiful San Antonio, Texas, shortly for the Valero Texas Open, and then we're gonna see you at Augusta. What you got? Anything else to wrap us before we sign off today?
Go see my daughter before she goes to school.
Love it. All right. Well, we appreciate y'all watching and listening as always. And we'll be back here with a little conversation midweek, and then it's Masters Week. Talk to you soon.